Have you ever wondered how a skinny young man from Hong Kong became the most influential martial artist in history, changed Hollywood forever, and inspired millions of people decades after his death? Bruce Lee's story isn't just about punches, kicks, or action movies. It's a story of determination, rejection, discipline, and an unshakable belief that limits exist only in the human mind. Long before he became a global icon, Bruce Lee was simply a restless child searching for his place in the world. His journey would take him from the crowded streets of Hong Kong to the classrooms of America, from countless failures to unimaginable success, and ultimately into the hearts of generations who still admire him today. This is the untold story of Bruce Lee, the martial arts legend who changed the world. Bruce Lee was born on November 27, 1940, in San Francisco, California, while his parents were traveling with a Chinese opera troupe. His father, Li Hoi Chuen, was a famous Cantonese opera performer, and his mother, Grace Ho, came from a respected family. Although Bruce was born in America, his family returned to Hong Kong when he was only a few months old. At the time, Hong Kong was a city struggling through difficult years shaped by war, poverty, and uncertainty. The streets were crowded, opportunities were limited, and life demanded resilience from everyone who lived there. As a child, Bruce was full of energy. He was curious, fearless, and often impossible to control. Instead of sitting quietly, he preferred running through busy streets, exploring neighborhoods, and getting involved in mischief with local children. His parents quickly realized that raising Bruce would never be easy. He was intelligent, but he disliked strict rules and loved testing boundaries. Even at a young age, he showed the confidence that would later define his personality. Because of his father's career, Bruce entered the world of entertainment almost immediately. He appeared in several Hong Kong films as a child actor. Standing in front of cameras became familiar to him long before he ever dreamed of becoming an international movie star. While these early roles gave him experience, they also exposed him to the demanding nature of filmmaking. He learned discipline on film sets, watched experienced actors perform, and slowly developed an understanding of storytelling. Despite his acting career, Bruce's school life was far from successful. He struggled to focus on academics and frequently found himself in trouble. Teachers considered him talented but difficult to manage. Outside school, he became involved in street fights that grew increasingly dangerous as he entered his teenage years. Hong Kong during the 1950s had many rival youth gangs, and conflicts between neighborhoods were common. Bruce was naturally competitive and refused to back down from confrontation. Although he wasn't the biggest or strongest teenager, Bruce hated losing. Every defeat frustrated him deeply. Instead of accepting failure, he became obsessed with improving himself. He realized that courage alone wasn't enough. Skill, speed, and discipline mattered even more. Concerned about his son's safety, Bruce's parents encouraged him to study martial arts. This decision would change the course of history. Around the age of 13, Bruce was introduced to Wing Chun, a traditional Chinese martial art taught by the legendary master Ip Man. At first, Bruce was simply another eager student, but it quickly became clear that he possessed extraordinary dedication. Training under Ip Man was demanding. Students repeated the same movements thousands of times. Every strike, every stance, and every defensive motion had to become instinctive. Bruce embraced the challenge with remarkable intensity. While many students stopped practicing after class, Bruce continued training late into the night. He practiced punches against walls, refined his footwork endlessly, and constantly searched for ways to become faster. Bruce wasn't satisfied with simply copying techniques. He wanted to understand why they worked. He questioned everything. He studied body mechanics, timing, distance, and human movement. Even as a teenager, he believed that martial arts should constantly evolve rather than remain trapped in old traditions. His dedication impressed many instructors, but his personality remained bold and outspoken. Bruce often challenged accepted ideas and wasn't afraid to express his opinions. Some admired his confidence, others considered him rebellious. Yet this willingness to question tradition would later become one of the defining characteristics of his philosophy. Outside martial arts, Bruce discovered another unexpected passion: dance. He became fascinated by the cha-cha and practiced with the same intensity he devoted to fighting. In fact, he became so skilled that he won a Hong Kong cha-cha dance championship. While dancing and martial arts may seem unrelated, Bruce believed they shared essential principles: rhythm, balance, timing, coordination, and fluid movement. Years later, many experts noticed that his incredible footwork in fight scenes resembled the graceful precision of an accomplished dancer. As Bruce continued training, his confidence grew. Unfortunately, so did his involvement in street fights. He frequently tested his abilities in real confrontations, believing practical experience was just as important as formal training. These fights gradually became more serious. Eventually, after one particularly dangerous incident, local authorities warned his parents that Bruce could face legal consequences if he remained in Hong Kong. His parents faced an incredibly difficult decision. They wanted to protect their son while giving him a chance to build a better future. Because Bruce had been born in San Francisco, he held American citizenship. They decided to send him alone to the United States, hoping a fresh start would help him escape the violence surrounding his teenage years. In 1959, with only a small amount of money in his pocket and enormous dreams in his heart, Bruce Lee boarded a ship bound for America. He was only 18 years old. Leaving behind family, friends, and everything familiar wasn't easy. He entered a country where few people knew his name, and even fewer believed someone who looked like him could become successful. Life in America proved far more challenging than Bruce expected. He initially stayed with friends and worked several low-paying jobs, including washing dishes and waiting tables, simply to survive. Every dollar mattered. Some days were exhausting, yet Bruce refused to complain. He viewed every hardship as another opportunity to grow stronger. Eventually, Bruce moved to Seattle, where he completed his education and enrolled at the University of Washington. There he studied philosophy, a subject that fascinated him deeply. While many students treated philosophy as an academic requirement, Bruce embraced it as a guide for life. He read the works of Eastern and Western thinkers, comparing different ideas about human potential, discipline, purpose, and self-discovery. The lessons he learned inside classrooms blended naturally with everything he experienced inside martial arts schools. Bruce began developing a revolutionary belief that would later transform the martial arts world. He believed style should never imprison a fighter. Instead of forcing people into rigid systems, martial arts should adapt to the individual. Efficiency mattered more than tradition. Reality mattered more than appearance. To earn additional income, Bruce started teaching martial arts in Seattle. At first, he trained only a few students in parks, garages, and small training spaces. Word spread quickly. People were amazed by his speed, precision, and unique teaching methods. Unlike many instructors at the time, Bruce welcomed students regardless of their race or background. This decision challenged long-standing traditions, since some Chinese martial arts schools believed their techniques should only be taught within the Chinese community. Bruce ignored those unwritten rules because he believed knowledge should never be restricted by ethnicity. Skill belonged to anyone willing to work hard enough to earn it. That belief would soon make him admired by many and criticized by others. Without realizing it, Bruce Lee was preparing for the first major controversy that would shape the rest of his remarkable journey. Bruce's decision to teach martial arts to anyone who was willing to learn quickly attracted attention, but not all of it was positive. During the early 1960s, many traditional martial arts instructors believed that Chinese fighting techniques should remain within the Chinese community. Bruce completely disagreed. To him, martial arts were not family secrets or cultural property. They were tools for self-improvement, self-defense, and personal freedom. He believed that talent and dedication mattered far more than race or nationality. That philosophy made him popular with students from many backgrounds, but it also placed him at the center of growing controversy. As Bruce's reputation spread across Seattle, Oakland, and later California, more students came to train under him. They were amazed not only by his incredible speed, but also by his teaching style. He encouraged students to think instead of blindly memorizing techniques. Every class was filled with questions, demonstrations, and practical drills. Bruce constantly reminded his students that a technique was useless if it failed under real pressure. He wanted them to understand movement rather than simply copy it. Around this time, Bruce met a young woman named Linda Emery, a student at the University of Washington. Linda attended one of Bruce's martial arts demonstrations and soon became interested in both his philosophy and his personality. Bruce was intelligent, ambitious, and unlike anyone she had ever met. Their friendship gradually turned into a relationship built on mutual respect and shared dreams. Despite the social challenges of interracial relationships during that era, Bruce and Linda refused to let prejudice determine their future. In August 1964, they married, beginning a partnership that would remain one of the strongest foundations of Bruce's life. That same year became one of the most important turning points in Bruce Lee's career. During the Long Beach International Karate Championships in California, Bruce gave a martial arts demonstration that left the audience speechless. His legendary one-inch punch showed how enormous power could be generated from almost no distance, and his lightning-fast finger jabs appeared too quick for many spectators to follow. Among those watching were martial artists, reporters, and people connected to the entertainment industry. For the first time, many influential figures realized they were witnessing someone truly extraordinary. The demonstration dramatically increased Bruce's reputation, but controversy continued to follow him. According to accounts from Bruce, Linda, and several of his students, members of the traditional Chinese martial arts community challenged him over his decision to teach non-Chinese students. This led to a private challenge match with another martial artist. Different witnesses later gave different versions of what happened, so some details remain disputed. However, Bruce himself believed that although he won the fight, it lasted longer than he expected. Instead of celebrating, he criticized his own performance. For most people, victory would have been enough. For Bruce Lee, it wasn't. He returned home frustrated, convinced that traditional martial arts systems contain unnecessary limitations. If a fight lasted longer than necessary, then something needed to change. Bruce began questioning every technique he had ever learned. He analyzed speed, efficiency, timing, distance, conditioning, and psychology with relentless intensity. Nothing was considered sacred. If a movement wasted time or energy, he removed it. If another style offered a useful technique, he adopted it without hesitation. This relentless process eventually led Bruce to develop a completely new martial arts philosophy known as Jeet Kune Do, often translated as the way of the intercepting fist. Bruce insisted that Jeet Kune Do was not another rigid style. In fact, he disliked calling it a style at all. He believed that once people became trapped inside fixed systems, they stopped growing. Instead, he encouraged students to absorb what was useful, reject what was useless, and add what was uniquely their own. One of Bruce's most famous ideas reflected this philosophy perfectly. Be like water. To Bruce, water represented adaptability. Water could flow gently through a river or crash powerfully against rocks. It could fill any container without losing its nature. In the same way, Bruce believed people should remain flexible, adjusting to every challenge instead of resisting change. Those simple words would eventually become one of the most quoted philosophies in modern history. Bruce's training methods became legendary. While others trained hard, Bruce trained obsessively. His days often began before sunrise and ended late at night. He lifted weights, ran long distances, practiced martial arts drills, stretched for flexibility, jumped rope, worked heavy bags, refined footwork, and studied fighting theory. He carefully recorded workouts, diet plans, and personal observations in notebooks, constantly searching for small improvements. He also experimented with nutrition at a time when many athletes ignored it. Bruce believed the human body should be treated like a high-performance machine. He paid close attention to strength, endurance, body composition, and recovery. His dedication helped him develop an athletic physique that looked decades ahead of its time. His lean muscles, incredible speed, and explosive power became symbols of human potential. Friends often recalled that Bruce rarely seemed satisfied with himself. No matter how much progress he made, he always believed he could improve further. Every weakness became another challenge to overcome. Every failure became another lesson. As Bruce's martial arts reputation continued growing, Hollywood finally began to notice him. Television producer William Dozier heard about Bruce after watching his Long Beach demonstration and invited him to audition for a television project. Although that particular series was never produced, Bruce's screen test impressed producers with his confidence, charisma, and unmistakable presence. Shortly afterward, he was offered the role of Kato in the television series The Green Hornet. Premiering in 1966, the show focused on the masked crime fighter known as the Green Hornet, but audiences quickly became fascinated by his partner. Bruce's portrayal of Kato was unlike anything American television had seen before. His movements were incredibly fast, his fight scenes looked authentic, and his calm confidence made every appearance unforgettable. Ironically, Bruce often attracted more attention than the show's main hero. Viewers loved Kato, yet the series lasted only one season before being cancelled. Although disappointed, Bruce refused to see the cancellation as failure. He believed every opportunity moved him one step closer to his ultimate goal. Unfortunately, Hollywood still struggled to recognize Asian actors as leading stars. Bruce was frequently offered small roles that relied on stereotypes rather than meaningful characters. Producers admired his martial arts abilities, but hesitated to build major films around an Asian lead. Time after time, Bruce found doors closing in front of him. The greatest disappointment came when Bruce developed the concept for a television series about a wandering martial artist traveling across the American West. Despite contributing many ideas to the project, the lead role eventually went to actor David Carradine. Bruce felt deeply frustrated, believing he had been overlooked despite creating much of the original vision. Whether every detail unfolded exactly as later stories described remains debated, but there's little doubt that Bruce experienced repeated disappointment as Hollywood struggled to see beyond its own assumptions. Instead of giving up, Bruce chose a different path. If Hollywood wouldn't make him a star, he decided he would become such a massive success that Hollywood would have no choice but to follow. That determination would soon send Bruce Lee back to Hong Kong, where an unexpected opportunity was waiting, one that would transform him from a respected martial arts instructor into an international movie legend and forever change the history of action cinema. When Bruce Lee returned to Hong Kong in the early 1970s, he expected little more than a brief visit with family. He had spent years struggling to earn recognition in America, accepting small television roles while dreaming of something much bigger. What he didn't realize was that during his time overseas, the Green Hornet had become surprisingly popular in Hong Kong. Local audiences admired the fearless martial artist they called the Kato Show, and Bruce had unknowingly become a familiar face. For the first time in years, he found himself surrounded by fans who already believed he was destined for greatness. That unexpected popularity caught the attention of film producers. One studio quickly offered Bruce the leading role in a martial arts movie titled The Big Boss. Although the budget was modest and production conditions were far from luxurious, Bruce saw something far more valuable than money. He finally had the opportunity to become the main character instead of standing in someone else's shadow. Filming was physically demanding. The weather was hot, schedules were exhausting, and resources were limited. Bruce wasn't interested in creating ordinary fight scenes. He wanted audiences to feel every punch, every kick, and every moment of tension. Unlike many martial arts films of the era, where exaggerated movements were designed mainly for visual style, Bruce insisted on speed, realism, and emotional intensity. He carefully choreographed sequences so that every movement told part of the story. Fighting wasn't just action, it was communication. When The Big Boss was released in 1971, the response exceeded everyone's expectations. The film shattered box office records across Asia. Audiences packed theaters, cheering every fight scene, and leaving amazed by Bruce Lee's explosive screen presence. Overnight, he transformed from a struggling actor into the biggest martial arts star in Hong Kong. For many people, this level of success would have been enough. For Bruce Lee, it was only the beginning. His next film, Fist of Fury, arrived shortly afterward and became an even greater success. The story followed a martial artist seeking justice after the death of his master. Beyond its action, the film resonated emotionally with audiences because it reflected themes of dignity, pride, and seeing a sign that declared, "No dogs and Chinese allowed." Whether inspired by history or dramatized for cinema, that moment became one of the most iconic scenes in martial arts film history. Bruce wasn't simply entertaining audiences anymore. He was giving people a hero who stood against injustice with courage, discipline, and honor. The success of 2 consecutive blockbuster films gave Bruce something he had wanted for years: creative freedom. Rather than allowing studios to control every decision, he co-founded Concord Production Incorporated, giving himself greater authority over writing, directing, choreography, and production. His next project, Way of the Dragon, became deeply personal. Bruce didn't just star in the film, he wrote it, he directed it, he choreographed the fights. He carefully shaped nearly every creative aspect of production. The movie featured one of the most legendary fight scenes ever filmed: the climactic battle between Bruce Lee and American karate champion Chuck Norris inside Rome's ancient Colosseum. Instead of relying on rapid editing or camera tricks, Bruce allowed long takes to showcase genuine martial arts skill. Every movement carried purpose. Every exchange built suspense. As the fight progressed, viewers watched not only 2 exceptional fighters but also 2 philosophies colliding. The duel became one of cinema's defining moments. Even decades later, filmmakers and martial artists continue studying that scene for its choreography, pacing, and storytelling. By now, Bruce Lee had become Asia's biggest movie star. Yet one dream remained unfinished. He wanted to conquer Hollywood not merely as an action hero, but as an international leading man who could unite audiences across cultures. That opportunity finally arrived through a collaboration with Warner Brothers, resulting in the film Enter the Dragon. It was the first major Hollywood production centered around Bruce Lee and represented everything he had worked toward for years. The movie combined espionage, martial arts, unforgettable characters, and spectacular action on a scale never before seen. Bruce approached the project with incredible dedication. He refined every fight scene repeatedly, insisting on authenticity and emotional impact. He pushed himself through long filming days despite increasing physical exhaustion. Cast members later recalled his remarkable focus, often practicing movements between takes even after hours of filming. Behind the scenes, however, Bruce's life had become increasingly demanding. Years of relentless training, non-stop travel, film production, business responsibilities, interviews, and constant public attention placed enormous pressure on both his body and mind. Bruce expected perfection from himself every single day. He rarely allowed himself to rest because he feared wasting precious time. Friends noticed that he constantly worked, constantly planned, and constantly searched for ways to improve. His notebooks revealed the mindset of someone who believed growth never ended. He studied boxing, he analyzed fencing, he explored wrestling, he researched philosophy, he examined psychology, he read books on fitness, anatomy, and human performance. Bruce wasn't interested in becoming the greatest martial artist of his generation. He wanted to understand the full potential of the human body and mind. Despite appearing almost unstoppable on screen, Bruce remained deeply human. Like anyone carrying enormous expectations, he experienced stress, fatigue, and moments of frustration. Yet he continued moving forward because he believed his mission extended far beyond movies. He wanted to break stereotypes. He wanted Asian actors to receive equal opportunities. He wanted martial arts to be respected as serious athletic and philosophical disciplines. Most importantly, he wanted people to believe that self-improvement had no limits. By the summer of 1973, Bruce Lee seemed closer than ever to achieving everything he had dreamed of. Enter the Dragon was nearly ready for release and was expected to introduce him to audiences around the world on an unprecedented scale. Few could have imagined that the man standing on the edge of global superstardom had only days left to live. The shocking events that followed would stun the world, generate decades of questions, and ensure that Bruce Lee's name would never be forgotten. On July 20, 1973, Bruce Lee woke up like he had on countless other busy mornings. He was only 32 years old, Yet he had already achieved what many people spend a lifetime chasing. His career was reaching its highest point. Enter the Dragonels was about to introduce him to audiences around the world, and the future seemed brighter than ever. No one, not his family, not his friends, and certainly not Bruce himself, could have imagined that this ordinary day would become one of the most heartbreaking days in entertainment history. According to widely documented accounts, Bruce spent part of the afternoon discussing work on his upcoming film, Game of Death. He remained focused on new ideas, future projects, and the next chapter of his career. Even after becoming Asia's biggest action star, he continued thinking about ways to improve his films and challenge himself creatively. Later that day, Bruce developed a headache. He was given a pain relief medication that contained both a painkiller and a muscle relaxant. After taking it, he lay down to rest. Hours passed. When people attempted to wake him, he did not respond. Medical assistance was called immediately, but despite every effort, Bruce Lee could not be revived. The news spread with astonishing speed. Within hours, newspapers, radio stations, and television broadcasts across Hong Kong reported that Bruce Lee had died. Fans refused to believe it. Many thought it was a terrible rumor. Others assumed there had been some kind of mistake. How could the strongest martial artist in the world, a man whose incredible physical condition inspired millions, suddenly be gone at only 32 years old? The shock quickly became global. As official investigations were conducted, authorities concluded that Bruce Lee died from cerebral edema or swelling of the brain. Medical experts examined the available evidence, and the official finding has remained the accepted explanation. Over the decades, researchers and physicians have continued to discuss possible contributing factors, but many popular theories circulating in books, documentaries, and on the internet have never been conclusively proven. Separating verified facts from speculation is important, because Bruce Lee's remarkable life deserves to be remembered for what he truly accomplished rather than for unsupported rumors. His funeral brought together family members, close friends, students, fellow actors, and thousands of grieving fans. Many people openly cried as they said goodbye to the man who had inspired them to believe that courage, discipline, and determination could overcome almost any obstacle. Bruce Lee was buried in Seattle, Washington, beside the people and places that had shaped so much of his journey. Even today, visitors from around the world travel to his grave to leave flowers, handwritten letters, martial arts belts, and messages of gratitude. For countless fans, paying their respects is more than honoring a movie star, it is honoring a teacher whose philosophy changed their lives. Only 6 days after Bruce's death, Enter the Dragon actor premiered. The film became an international phenomenon. Audiences everywhere were captivated by Bruce Lee's speed, charisma, athleticism, and magnetic screen presence. The movie earned enormous success worldwide and introduced millions of viewers to martial arts in a way they had never experienced before. It transformed Bruce Lee into a global icon whose influence extended far beyond Asia or Hollywood. His impact reached every corner of popular culture. Action films changed forever. Fight choreography became faster, more realistic, and more emotionally engaging. Fitness enthusiasts admired his dedication to physical conditioning. Martial artists studied his philosophy as carefully as his techniques. Actors looked to him as proof that determination could overcome barriers that once seemed impossible. Even decades later, some of the world's greatest athletes, filmmakers, and performers continue to cite Bruce Lee as one of their biggest inspirations. But perhaps Bruce's greatest legacy wasn't found in his punches or kicks. It was found in his ideas. He taught people to question limitations. He encouraged lifelong learning. He believed mistakes were lessons rather than failures. He reminded the world that discipline is built one day at a time, through countless small choices that eventually shape an extraordinary life. One of his most famous lessons still resonates today. Be like water. Those 4 words continue to inspire entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, students, and dreamers around the world. Water adapts without losing its essence. It remains calm when necessary, powerful when required, and always finds a way forward. Bruce believed people should live the same way, flexible enough to face change, yet strong enough to remain true to themselves. His influence can still be seen everywhere. Mixed martial arts fighters borrow concepts that Bruce discussed decades before MMA became popular. Strength coaches continue studying training methods similar to those Bruce experimented with in the 1960s and early 1970s. Hollywood action heroes still reflect the style, confidence, and intensity he introduced to the screen. Perhaps most importantly, Asian actors now enjoy opportunities that were once almost unimaginable, thanks in part to the barriers Bruce Lee courageously challenged. Bruce Lee's life was brief, but its impact has proven timeless. He was more than an actor, more than a martial artist, more than a philosopher. He became a symbol of what is possible when talent meets relentless dedication. From a rebellious boy running through the crowded streets of Hong Kong, to a determined young immigrant washing dishes while chasing impossible dreams, to a martial arts teacher challenging centuries of tradition, to a filmmaker refusing to accept Hollywood's limitations, to a global legend remembered by millions, Bruce Lee's journey reminds us that greatness is never handed to anyone. It is earned through sacrifice, resilience, discipline, and an unwavering belief in one's purpose. More than 50 years after his passing, his films continue to inspire new generations. His philosophy continues to shape minds. His legacy continues to grow. Some legends are remembered because of what they achieved. Bruce Lee is remembered because he changed the way the world thinks about human potential. And perhaps that is why his story never truly ended. Because every time someone chooses courage over fear, growth over comfort, discipline over excuses, and determination over doubt, a small part of Bruce Lee's spirit lives on. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary and want to discover more incredible true stories of legendary people who changed history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey into the lives of history's greatest icons.